This is Samantha Stove reporting live from the kitchen of Velma Ortiz, a survivor of the Great Depression. In honor of the 70 years that have passed since the Great Depression hit, the Channel 6 news team of Chesterville, Maine has worked together to inform you of what these survivors have lived with. Velma Ortiz, looking young as can be at age 92, is going to answer a few questions for me. All right, well, I'm going to get us right started and ask you a couple questions if that's okay. I know it might be hard.
Yeah, no, I'm ready.
What were the positive changes that you think that FDR made when he stepped into office?
Oh, it's hard to just pick out a couple, He came in at such a terrible time, and when he was, he brought everybody's spirits up, and just when he would talk to us, and I know I was young, but he
Even
really
today,
made it
Samantha,
so I wasn't
I
nervous
remember
about my future. Happy Days Are Here Again. That song was so uplifting, and it was, something that country really needed. Like, we needed some faith. And,
Right.
have you ever heard of Fireside Chats?
Yes.
Well, that was really important to me and all the young girls during the Depression. He was talking to us like we were, his neighbor or his friend, and that was really
Talk to me about how you feel as if people felt about Herbert Hoover in comparison to FDR. What were people's feelings about him, and why did people like FDR so much more?
Well, Herbert Hoover wasn't a bad president. I think, maybe it was timing, wasn't right. He wasn't as prepared as he should have been. And then when FDR came into office, he had a lot of different ideas. And within his first 100 days, as president, he came up with and instituted the New Deal, which, obviously, look at what that got us. Great.
All right, Velma. Well, while we're on the topic of the New Deal, which program do you feel as if, influenced your life the most, like brought ease into your life? Which program specifically? It doesn't have to be one that was necessarily passed or remembered.
Okay. So I guess specifically for me and my family, I was just a young girl running around. I didn't have much care. I knew there was stuff going on. And, my older brother, he had a lot more to deal with, and he wasn't really educated. He wasn't married. So, that doesn't leave a lot of options for, young men in the Great Depression. So thankfully, FDR instituted the Civilian Conservation Corps, also the CCC. And, that really helped him because, just because he wasn't educated, he was very strong and, he could do manual labor. So he was able to get a job that worked really well, and he helped our family out.
That must have been great.
It was.
To take a turn, Velma, I just wanted to touch upon the Dust Bowl, because this is often a memory that we all hear about and the tragedies behind it.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about what you remember specifically about the Dust Bowl?
Thankfully, growing up in Chesterville, Maine, I didn't really have to see a lot of the Dust Bowl effects. But, having cousins in Texas and Oklahoma, I was able to hear about how it, really affected people. There were strong dust storms that stripped the topsoil off, all of these farmlands, through a series of huge storms. And the Great Plains or northern and southern Great Plains were the most affected. And let's even look at Chicago, Chi-Town. They got 12 million pounds of dust, and it was farmers were having to move from where they had lived.
Speaking of farmers, how do you think it affected agriculture after that? What do you think people had to do, in response to that?
It was very difficult. Families were moving from their farms they had grown up on. Their crops were almost ruined. The soil was unusable because, all of the dust had stripped all of the good nutrients out of the soil. I'm sure that, students may watch The Grapes of Wrath, and that's a really good portrayal of what families were having to go through. And, when you take away the livelihood of, if you are a farmer, and that's your main source of income when you don't have those means anymore, it becomes a really difficult situation.
Okay. Great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Darcy White, and I'm going to be telling you about how to survive the Depression. The most important thing to do is save your money. Save it. It's very important. I mean it. Start young if you have to. Put away those allowances and babysitting money. Well, actually, first, you should do some research on that bank and which one you're going to use, even if it's a credit union. Figure out their interest rates, accessibility, and whatnot. Then, when you find the right bank, stash that cash. But remember, banks might go down on the market as well as a depression happens. That means not to put all of your eggs in one basket. A lot of people stash their cash around their house. Have you been to Grandma's house and found a couple $50 bills somewhere? Well, that's probably why, because she's from that time as well. This is safe money, but it's not growing money. Think about it. If you get a 0.2% interest rate and you put, say, $5,000 in the bank, you'll earn around $500 in a 5-year period for just letting the money sit there. And hey, you could start some sort of system, some sort of reward system for yourself, where you tell yourself for every $100 you make in interest, you take out 50 to hide around the house for that safe money. You'll be rich in no time. The next important thing is to be smart with your money. Always look at unit prices. Say you're buying school supplies for your young selves, and you could buy 100 pencils for $8 or a pack of 10 for $2. Most would just buy the pack of 10. But if you think about the first pack, it's only 8 cents for one pencil, whereas the second is 20 cents for a pencil. So you're saving 12 cents for every pencil. And let me tell you, it adds up. Think about it. You're probably going to use those pencils, and you won't have to buy them again next year, or the year after that, or the year after that, or the year after that. But don't get too caught up on unit prices. Say you're looking to buy yourself some milk. You could buy 2 gallons for $3.45, or a half gallon for $1.25. That's $1.75 per gallon versus $2.50 per gallon. But are you really going to drink 2 gallons of milk to yourself? Probably not. So, in this case, if it's going to go bad, it might just be a good idea to buy the half gallon for yourself. That way you're not wasting anything, which is also important during a depression, not to waste anything. Never buy more than you need. That's important as well. If you follow this advice and overall are smart with your money, you'll end up on the right side of this depression.
Not really, God bless him. He's a total dear, but he is, dumb. So I can't say that, can I?
Yes, you can.
I'm going to take your grandma's stuff. All right.
He had this.
When old Grandma White dies, look around my house for my cash.